I'm an activist, I'm an advocate, I'm a teacher, I'm a designer. But all those things have some aspect of the public and sort of that relationship. And so I really like that. We have let others decide what we do. We put ourselves in a position of doing what people hire us to do. In other words, we've given up the power to say what we should be doing, what we could best be doing. Hopefully one day the public will know what we can do. They don't know that right now. We're the ones who have to say, this is what we can do to contribute to society and the environment, and we do it. We have to initiate that. So it's been a fee-based profession rather than a needs-based or a service-based profession. So we need to be bold because other people are gonna see the opportunity. I mean, you can get in the Museum of Modern Art now, and that's sort of like tempting for the wrong reasons. So public interest design is very simply design in the public interest. Now that's the simple part. Figuring out what the public interest is complicated, and you have to do it very carefully. We're not taught in school, and we really have a struggle to find out what is in the public interest. So it really involves a deep conversation with the public and with communities and kind of walking through the process with them to figure out, well, what are your challenges and how can design be a part of that? And that leads to the public value of design once you found out the interest, because then you respond with our value. Well, the last decade's been very interesting. We've had an opportunity of really collecting a lot of work and putting it in books or museum shows, and I think people are starting to be aware of this work. That's sort of a momentary interest. How do you take the lessons from those projects and make them systemic, make them transferable, right? So the 7 principles I talked about are really the best examples of all these projects that we've seen. What can you take and what can you move forward on other projects? So such as collaboration, such as participation, such as engagement and engaging people in the community so they feel a part of it, so they're making the decisions that shape their lives. This is very important to the public, to them. If we sort of take the design power away, make the decisions, and then sort of, dump it on the community, there's no embracing. They're not going to embrace this sort of top-down idea, which unfortunately is sort of the model, the sort of Howard Rourke model we have of ourselves. We have all the good ideas, and if the other people don't see it, it's just because they're not smart enough. Well, that's a really damaging, harmful attitude. We have to say, I can come up with a lot of ideas, but it's up to the community to tell me what is their need and what is the good solution for them. Architecture school in the 90s, it was like an ism a year, it was just ridiculous. I mean, they had no cultural traction, they had no anchor to society. It was really more of a consumerism, right? So mostly form-based movements in architecture recently have been like that. Of course, earlier ones, such as the Gothic period or early modernism, were rooted in structural systems, ideologies, inventions, and so those stuck. One resonates in society, the other is just sort of consumed by society and then sort of spit out. We don't want this to be form-based because each community has a different, cultural bias. So if we're taking the same form and sort of, slapping it down everywhere, that's not of the community. That's not to say it shouldn't be beautifully, formally what we do for a community, but it should be really something that is somehow unique to that community. And there's a certain pride and a lot of benefits that aren't just about the physical building. It's about the activity, the human relationships that happen in this design process. LEED has been successful, but it's only focused on the environment. So if you go to a community and say, I'll work with you as long as you only care about the environment, I mean, I think that's just a bad way to start a conversation. If you go to a community and say, tell me what your challenges are, and no matter what they are socially, economically, environmentally, I will try and work with you, right? That seems like a good way to have a conversation. So I think they've been successful in raising public consciousness about the relationship between design and the environment. I think having a one standard has been very effective. And so SEED is really flexible among any issue. I mean, social, economic, and environmental is meant to cover everything. I mean, it may seem like the SEED is like this monitoring like LEAD is, but really at this point we mean it to be more like a mentoring, right? So you apply a project and then somebody comes through and looks at the project and gives you advice about how to make it a better project. But there are also professionals who want to do this work and don't know how to do it, or don't know if they're doing it the best way they could. One of the great statements when we all started SEED was by Karen Van Langen, and she said, we need a way to prove to communities that we did what we said we were going to do. So SEED does that. So it's not like, here's your building, I'm gone, which is what we do now. It's like, here's your building, and I'm sticking around to find out if I'm going to be SEED certified or not, because that's good for me and good for the building. Well, that's something I'm really excited about, because one thing I've found is that holding a meeting and inviting the community to come and discuss design is sort of like, that's my way of operating, you know? That's not, a lot of people in our communities don't go to meetings, you know? And they're too busy, they're tired. So I'm really excited about the digital capacity, sort of the democratic capacity of the internet, because now people can, in a few minutes, go check on a project, see what's happening, see if there's an issue put to vote, or they want to weigh in on what the challenge is. I think it encourages people to participate. That's the main thing. So they get to see how their impact registered. It's a visualization of the process. So hopefully, I mean, there's a wonderful democratic side, democracy aspect of design if people feel that their voice matters. So if you're making it very clear that it does, more people are going to participate. One of our partners, Dan Patera, is doing a community-based project, public interest project for entire city of Detroit. Now, how do you get the entire city of Detroit to come to a meeting and vote on design? You can't. But you can easily use this digital tool for thousands of people. And so I think to do anything like that, to go to scale, is really the only way you can do it. In the practice that I call asset-based design, the more people you have involved in a project, the more likely you are to pull together the resources you need for the project. I think it's a sort of tragedy that people say, I can't do architecture because I don't have enough money. There's so many other rich resources you can bring to make great architecture. Money's just one part of it. So I think to start to have this international conversation is fascinating, because we're becoming collaborators and mutual stakeholders. Okay, this is a conversation, you said something, now we'll say something back. That's productive. That's where we are partners and we are working together towards something. So, but it's good to have something to talk about, you know. It's good to put something on the table and say, what is it, how does this look? We haven't gone international, so I have no idea. We're only going to do this through huge collective action, not by little groups all over. So we need to figure out a way to bring all of us together under one sort of, one flag, one voice in the end, not to limit voices, but to be strong. Well, I think this was a brilliant gathering of many different voices, but clearly with common beliefs and different takes on it, but from all over the world. It's very rare to have a group like this that is still kind of open enough to have a really honest conversation, And the people who really believe in this and really are passionate about it really need to be the ones who are having this conversation. This was our chance to define, to shape our profession.